guys, it's your girl Cheyenne from Plant My Happy Space. Welcome back to the channel. If you're not already subscribed and following me on Instagram, you should definitely do both of those. I think I'm pretty cool, but you're gonna have to decide that for yourselves by going and subscribing and watching all my other videos and all the future ones coming up. I'm just kidding. Oh, that was so lame. Yeah, but I'd really appreciate it if you guys subscribed. It really helped me out. I want to see more of you guys, and hopefully you want to see more of me. So today, I'm going to repot a bunch of houseplants. I have 7 houseplants I'm going to repot. I don't know if I'm going to get to all of them, but the goal is to get to all of them today. We're going to do a little bit of a combination. I'm going to try to do Pam's, from Pam's Pretty Plants tag, the springplantuber tag. I actually already filmed myself doing that tag, and then user error accidentally deleted all that footage. So we're going to do it again, and I'll probably give the same answers, but you guys won't know it because you wouldn't have seen that footage. I also put on my Instagram if anybody had some questions, and I'm going to answer some of those that came in through the Instagram. Alright, so let's get started. The first one I want to do is going to be my green Maranta. I have this that just needs to be repotted because this is the pot that it came in. I've had it for a couple of months, and the soil came very loose, but I just didn't want to mess it up and let it acclimate. But it's acclimated just fine, but the soil is very loose and very dense. So I'm going to pot this up, and I also took some cuttings off of it. So I'm just going to pot this back up in with this plant. And I put everything right in front of me, so now I can't put the pot in front of me. Alright. So this is the pot I'm going to put it in. It's about the same size width-wise, but it's just a little bit deeper. And I'll start off by layering some soil in the bottom. And while I do that, I'm going to answer the first question from the plant tuber tag, which is, have I started spring cleaning or repotting plants yet? And the answer is yes to both. This is the first repotting video I've done on my channel, because usually the plants that need to be repotted are ones that I can't afford to let them stay dry for too long. And I don't like repotting plants when they're still wet, because I like to drench the soil as soon as I repot them. So if they've already been wet for a while, I don't want to drench them and potentially give them root rot. But I have been repotting some, and I've definitely been cleaning some, and I finally got on a system where instead of frantically trying to find plants that need to be cleaned, what I'm doing is every plant that needs to be watered, while I'm watering them, I just also clean the leaves, because I bottom water 90% of my plants, and the ones that I don't bottom water, I will still bring them to the sink and water them. So I have to physically pick them up and bring them to my kitchen. So it just makes it easier. While they're being watered, I'm cleaning their leaves, and it's just kind of like a 2-in-1 kind of moment. If you're curious what kind of soil mixture I'm using, I use almost the same exact soil mixture for basically everything that's not a succulent or a cactus, for the most part, which is just 1/3 to a half of black gold potting mix, and then and then the rest is kind of like 50-50 perlite or pumice. Today I'm using pumice because I have some and I prefer pumice, and then the other half is orchid bark. It's the same thing for almost everything. Almost all of these plants are going to be in that same mixture, and if they're not, I will let you know. But if you hear any clipper clapper, it's my dog. Oh, that's actually one of the questions. So, Sarah from Peanuts Plants here on YouTube, and she also has an Instagram, she asked if I have any pets, and I do. I have one dog. His name is Gunner. He is my heart. He is the only thing that I would give up my plants for. If I went to the vet and they said right now that even though my dog is not eating any of the plants, that I had to get rid of them all, I would do it in a heartbeat. My man on the other side, he's got to deal with it. But Gunner is the love of my life, basically. He is a German Shepherd mix. with pit bull. So he looks just like a German Shepherd, head to toe German Shepherd, except for he's short haired, like very short haired. So, and he's fed up with me right now. He does not like it when I film YouTube videos because then I'm not giving him attention. But he is lovely. He's a little bit on the older side, not too much, but he's about 6 years old, and he is the greatest. I definitely need something bigger than this bowl to put the dirty soil in, so I will be right back. All right, so I got this plastic bag. I'm gonna use this even though it's the worst idea ever because every time I use a bag, I miss the bag and it just goes everywhere. But we're gonna, you know, pretend like this will be the day that doesn't happen. And I'm just gonna have it sitting on the chair next to me so that it can be out of this way. I don't really know how, like there's so many stems, I don't really know how I'm gonna do this successfully. So I'm just gonna put it upside down and hope for the best. Yep, already got soil everywhere. Dang it. All right. Just lay that in there nicely. And then I'll take my 2 cuttings that I did and find a nice place for them to go. Another reason why I like to fully drench it is because I just get soil all over the leaves, and that is just the easiest way to get all the soil off the leaves and to fill in all the nooks and crannies. Another good reason to fully soak the plant is if you are putting cuttings in, or if the whole plant is cuttings, and you do what I do, which is water propagate, then you want the soil to be moist so that they can like acclimate to the new pot and not die on you after you just spent, you know, all that time waiting for roots to grow. That's as good as it's gonna get. Okay, first one is repotted. Was a pain in the butt, but it's repotted. When you guys repot, do you guys wear gloves? I always have been told that you're supposed to, because soil is, you know, unsanitary and dries out your hands, and you know all the reasons you're supposed to wear gloves. But I've tried, and it's not even necessarily that I enjoy the feeling of the soil, which I mean I do. Don't get me wrong, but it's more like I feel like I mess up the plant when I wear gloves because I can't feel what I'm hitting. So I might break off a leaf or something like that, and I don't like to do that. You have to be as gentle as possible. All right, so the next plant we're gonna do is my Philodendron Birkin. If you saw my Gabriella plants unboxing, you will have already seen this. So it is fairly new to my collection. However, it is a philodendron and it's not showing any signs of not acclimating correctly. So I'm gonna repot it right now because I want to. Even though it does like to dry out quite a bit, I'm putting it in a ceramic planter because it is very close to a west-facing window. So it's still drying out a little bit too quickly in this plastic pot. So ceramic, I think, will be the perfect decision. It is still a very airy mix because it's got the orchid bark and the pumice perlite. So I have no concerns putting this in here because I think it'll still dry out just as well, actually. Probably at a more appropriate rate and not as quickly as it is right now, just in the plastic. And while I do that, I will answer the second question, which is, do you stop fertilizing in the winter? And if so, have you started fertilizing again? And I will say, I am the worst when it comes to, ooh, my lunch is here. All right, so yeah, I just got Panda Express through DoorDash. But back to what I was saying. So I am the worst when it comes to fertilizing on a schedule. The worst. I'm trying to get better at it now, but I used to legitimately fertilize a plant once every 6 waterings because I was always watering them in a rush and would forget to mix and then I started to get so many plants that were sensitive to certain fertilizers, and I was using the Miracle Grow kind of chemically based fertilizer, so not ideal for some very sensitive plants. However, recently, very recently, like yesterday, I started fertilizing with Newt. Now, I am by no means recommending that to you guys just yet. I have no experience with it. I'm not an ambassador for them. I'm not, sponsored by them or anything like that. So I have no opinion on it just yet. But just to answer the question, I have started fertilizing and I plan to do it on a more regular basis. And the whole idea of Newt, I guess, is you're supposed to do it with every single watering. So I'm going to start doing that on a select number of plants and just see how it goes. Eventually I'll do a video on my review and my thoughts on it, but take everything I say with a grain of salt when it comes to fertilizer right now, because I did literally just start it yesterday and I have no opinions on it thus far. And in between the tag questions, I will answer another question I got off my Instagram, which I'll answer another one that came from Sarah from Peanuts Plants, because she sent me 3 questions. And I already answered the dog one, but she also asked me how many plants I have in my collection. And I would say over 130. The last time I counted, I was at exactly 130, and I have acquired plants since then. And you will know that if you watch my unboxings and like monthly haul videos and all that good stuff. But over 130. So I'd say somewhere between 130 and 150 to be on the safe side. By the way, if you guys ever have any questions for me that you want me to answer, because I know I am new here on YouTube, so it's like y'all don't know me super well. If you ever have questions, like feel free to comment them on this video or any of my other videos. Feel free to send me a message on Instagram. Like, I'm pretty active on both as of right now. I'm very responsive. And I want to hear from you guys. I want to hear what you want to know, what you want to see, what kind of videos you want to see. Like, let me know. Like, you can, like, I'm all about, like, opinions and, putting your ideas out there. So, like, if you've got an idea you want me to film or you want to know about me or, like, you just want to know in general, let me know. Speaking of which, I did get an Instagram question in regards to fungus gnats and how to take care of them and stuff like that. I am going to do a separate video on that because I have like basically become the expert when it comes to fungus gnats because I was just dealing with them constantly for so long. So I will do a separate video on that. There you go. My Birkin is all repotted. Not even halfway done yet, and I feel like this video is gonna be so long. Like, are you guys more of a fan of like longer videos or shorter videos? Give me your vibe. All right, so the next one I'm gonna do is my pink princess philodendron. I have had this one for probably 2 to 3 months. I've had this one for about 2 to 3 months, and the reason why I'm repotting it is because A, the soil medium it's in holds a lot of moisture, a lot. So it needs to be in a more airy moisture. It needs to be in a more airy soil medium. And I'm also repotting it because in the current pot that it's in, the plant is all the way to the side of the pot, and I want to be able to put a moss pole behind it so that it can be stable and also grow a lot. All right, so the third question for the plant tuber tag is what, if any, plants did I lose over winter? And I'm not gonna say any of them outright died on me because none of them did. However, there were a couple of them that I kind of got rid of and, decluttered because I wasn't super a fan of them anymore. I had had them before I really started curating my collection, but it was back from when I was just buying stuff to buy stuff. And then I did have 3 of my alocasias not necessarily go dormant, but all the stems fell off and it was just the bulb again. And so they're in the process of growing new leaves right now. But that is, I mean, that's the closest I came to like losing a plant. So once I can guarantee that they come back, I'm going to do a video on how to get them to come back. And then the last question that Sarah from Peanuts Plants sent to me was, how long have I been collecting plants? And that's kind of based on your definition of collecting plants. So I'll tell a little bit of a story. Probably 3 years ago is when I got my first like actual house, like a legitimate house, not apartment, not dorm room, nothing, like a legitimate house, like 3 years ago. So I told myself, like, as an adult, adults have houseplants. My mom had houseplants. You know, I had to have houseplants. Like, that was just what adults did. It didn't really matter what they were. I just needed houseplants. So I bought, like, the plants that you could buy at basically any grocery store. You know, I bought a parlor palm. I bought an ivy. I bought aloe vera. Bought a couple succulents. And, you know, that was basically it. And that was kind of how I rocked for like 6 months. Somehow managed to keep them all alive, even though I had no idea what I was doing. Did no research on any of them. Like, that's just, they just somehow stayed alive. And then I went on a trip, and I brought my plants to my friend's house. Well, actually, I brought it to work and asked her to take care of them. And I put a little sticky note on each one of the plants, and it said like what I thought was like the best way to take care of them, which is basically was just how I was taking care of them. And these details had nothing about them being dry or anything like that. It was just like water every week, water every 2 weeks, water every 2 days. Like, that's all it said. And I came back from this trip, and a lot of them were already dead, and a lot of the other ones were like on the verge of dying, you know, like they could be saved, but like had to act fast. So I started YouTubing, you know, how to take care of certain plants and like how to revive them and like all this other stuff. And I just got weirdly addicted and just like kept watching. And I would watch a video that would lead to another video, you know, just go down this spiral that everybody goes down, and was like, oh my goodness, okay, so this plant, this is why it was dying, because, you know, I don't have this kind of sunlight, but these plants do good in this kind of sunlight. And every time I'd go to the grocery store, I'd come back with a different plant. And, I mean, none of them were rare or anything. I was still buying just like the household kind of plants. And it just kind of spiraled from there. And I would say it did not take long, maybe 3 or 4 months after that, where my collection was just out of control, but I hadn't gotten into rare plants or anything like that. And my collection was kind of pissing off my fiance, quite frankly, because at the time we were waiting to move, so we were like halfway living in a hotel. And he was pissed because his side of the bed was the side closest to the window, the only window that was in the hotel room. So I put all of my plants against that window, which means every time he got in and out of bed, he basically had to, you know, shimmy to get out of the bed. And he was not happy about it. So what ended up happening was I was like talking about these rare plants, these hard to find plants that I had seen on YouTube and blah, blah, blah. And in his mind, he thought if he encouraged me to only buy rare plants, that I would just be buying plants less often and less plants in and my collection wouldn't grow as quickly, because in his mind, because they're rare, it would take longer for me to find them, and when I did find them, they'd probably be expensive, so I wouldn't be willing to spend that much on a plant. And boy, was he wrong. If you want to find a plant, you can find a plant. Like, you might be paying a whole paycheck for it, but you can find a plant. And I was very adamant, you know, like I wasn't gonna put us into debt over it or anything, but if we had the money, I was buying it. You know, there was no, oh, that's unreasonable for a plant. If I wanted it and I found it, I bought it. It was that simple. My addiction was crazy at that time. At that time, like it's not still now. Like I'm not repotting a rare plant as we speak. No. So that's kind of how it all started. And then about 6 months ago, we moved to Florida, which if any of y'all have visited Florida or currently live in Florida, you know that it is bright year round. So winter did not faze me here. I did not slow down for winter. I actually bought more plants in winter than I usually do. So it was just, you know, I've been cranking out the money for plants nonstop. So that is how my collection came to be. All right, let me see this from the front. Okay. Looking good, looking good. All right. 3 plants down, 4 to go. Still haven't eaten my lunch. All right. Let's repot a smaller one. I have this Singhania Moonlight that, was this in my last? Yeah, this was in my February plant haul, so I got it in February. And I don't normally repot plant this quickly, like the next month, but I noticed that this one was drying out very quickly and it wasn't holding moisture as long as it wanted to. So I decided to give it a better soil mixture because the soil it had was not very airy at all. Moving on to question 4, and I kind of already answered this, but I'll do it again, which is, did I order any plants over winter, and like how did that go? And yes, like I said, I ordered a bunch of plants over winter. I did not slow down over winter, but here in Florida there was no real winter. There was a couple of weekends where like a cold front would come in and it'd be in the 30s, but I just made sure I didn't order plants that could be delivered around that time. But the rest of the time, like it was, the lowest it got was like in the 50s. Most of winter was still in the 60s, so I wasn't concerned about buying plants at all. Like it was nothing. Most of them showed up in good condition. The ones that didn't show up in great condition, it wasn't like cold damage or anything. It was just like bad sellers. And then question number 5 is like, what's your next plant or plant related purchase? And like, what's your wish list and like blah, blah, blah. I'm going to do a video dedicated to like the current wish list plants that I want. However, you know, there are a couple that I'll let you'll know, like I really want an Alocasia dragon scale and an Alocasia cuprea. I've gotten really into alocasias lately, and I've got a couple that like thrived for me since I got them, so I finally like mastered their care, and I won't say mastered, but I finally I feel like I've got it down. So I really want those really bad, those 2 alocasias. Those are kind of the ones that are the tippy top of my list. All right. We're going to say that this one is all potted up and ready to go. That is 4 plants down, 3 to go. Boom. Making not enough progress. All right. So the next one I want to repot is this variegated bamboo that you might have seen me get on my 2020 under 20 challenge, where I try to see how many plants I can get for under $20. And I'm going to pot this one up differently, and I wanted to show you guys how in this video, because I do not pot up bamboo the way I pot up all my other plants. Currently this one is in a plastic cup in this black cashpo, and it's covered in soil. It's planted in soil, and I am not going to pot it in soil, actually. I don't think bamboo do the best in soil. So I'm going to break it down for you guys a little bit on how I like to pot up bamboo. And the first thing you'll do is try to get as much of the soil off as you can. And this one, because it's not going into soil, we want it all off, which means since I can't get all the soil off and it's pretty compact, I'm gonna go rinse it off in the sink and get all the soil off. All right, so I got all the soil off of the roots, or as much as I could get off. And I'm actually gonna use the pot that it came in, the cash pot that it came in. Use anything that does not drain at all, whether it's a cash pot or, you know, just a glass cup, anything you feel like you would look good with your kind of home aesthetic, use that. As long as it doesn't have drainage, you're good to go. So, what we're gonna do is we're gonna plant this baby in water and rocks. That is it. I know it sounds crazy. This is one of the things my mom actually taught me when I was young. This is how she grew bamboo. So when I got bamboo, when I first got my house and didn't know how to take care of plants, I realized the bamboo I had was planted in soil, and I was like, that's so weird, because my mom never did that. So I put it in rocks, and it thrived. So I decided that was how I was going to always grow bamboo. So you're going to put a couple of rocks at the bottom. And I just get these like river pebble rocks. They work fantastic. And then once you've got a good layer at the bottom, you're going to put the plant in like this. Make sure it's standing straight. And then just put rocks around the sides to hold it up. Essentially, that's all the rocks are, is literally just holding the plant up. All right. It is that simple, guys. All you have to do is fill that up with water now to the tippy top and put it wherever you want to put it. And then for maintenance, if I was being correct, I would say every single week, drain it out and then put fresh water in it. But that's not honestly what I do, so I'm not going to be hypocritical and tell you guys to do that. What I do is when I'm watering all my other plants, I just look at it. If I can tell the water's not at the tippy top, pour some water in until it is at the tippy top again. And maybe once every 2.5 months is when I'll kind of take it out and redo it, but technically that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. You do whatever you want. 2 more plants to go and 5 questions left on the spring plant tuber tag. So we gotta pick up the pace. All right, question number 6. Do I have any life-saving tips or tricks for kind of getting your plants through winter? Honestly, no, because, not no. So, because it was still sunny here, I didn't have to worry too much. The only difference would be technically a couple of times I did turn the heater on. So during that time, the humidifier came in handy. But I already have humidifiers that I was maintaining, so I was really just filling them up more often. That was about it. But the next plant we're going to repot is my philodendron. What is this? Is this moonshine or moonlight or? I don't know. It'll say it here. You guys will see it before I say it. But this is kind of the same thing as the Birkin. I'm repotting it because I want to, and for no other reason. It's a philodendron, so it'll survive. I'm not worried about it. And I want it in a cuter pot. Plain and simple. There we go. That's why I'm repotting it. Question number 7. Do I put my houseplants outside for summer? And if so, will I do it this year? No, I never have. And I'm not going to say I never will, but I probably never will. I bought them to be houseplants. I want to enjoy them indoors, so I want them to be where I can see them more often, which is going to be indoors. And that's just kind of my personal preference. I know a lot of people will say it's better for the plants, and I'm not necessarily arguing that. I'm sure it is. But that's just not what I want to do. That's just not my preference. I want to keep them indoors where I can see them and appreciate them far more often. All right. That one is done. Now moving on to the last, but certainly not least, my croton. Now, I am repotting this one because It dries out probably every like 3 days. And I am not about to have this fussy of a plant, especially one that's not that rare at all, need to be repotted or need to be watered every 3 days. I'm just not doing it. Oh my gosh, this has like no root system. I feel like this pot is way too big for it now. It has like no root system, guys. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I'm repotting it because yeah, it needs to be watered like every 3 days. And I don't have the patience for that, especially with, you know, plants that aren't supposed to be super, you know, rare or delicate and stuff like that. So I'm putting it in a ceramic planter. And I think it'll be fine because this is right up against a southern window because crotons like a lot of light. So I think it'll be fine in the ceramic. I think it'll hold moisture longer, just enough to be happy. While I'm repotting this last plant, I'll answer the last couple of questions that are on the plant tag. The next one is, did I have any pest issues and did I conquer them? I am forever fighting fungus gnats, and I had them under control for a little while and then they came back. So I am still conquering them. I feel like I conquer them and then a new batch arrives and I don't know how, but I am always fighting them. I am always winning. That's not true. I'm not always winning, but I am always fighting them and eventually I beat them and then they come back. Show us one plant that has thrived all winter. Definitely my Monstera deliciosa, just regular variety. That one has popped out new babies like crazy. And I was super impressed by how much it grew. It actually grew more in the winter than it did over this like summer. But that is also because we moved to Florida, so maybe it just likes the Florida light better. I don't know. But yeah, that one definitely thrived like crazy. And then the last question for the tag is, show me one plant you're most excited to see growth on in the spring. And that is definitely my alocasia or odoras. I have the original variety, the large size, and then I have the dwarf variety. And both of them are fairly new to my collection. I had the dwarf variety first, and that was like the first alocasia I conquered and figured out how to take care of it. So I eventually got the larger version, and they're both doing very well for me. So I cannot wait to see some new growth on them. Like they might be my new babies here soon. They might be my new favorites. All right, that is it for us, guys. We did the spring plant tuber tag created by Pam. Thank you, Pam, if you're watching this. I really like doing the tag. Technically, this is the second time I've done the tag, but nobody else saw it. And for those of you that sent me questions on Instagram, I really appreciate it. Keep them coming. I will include them in future videos if you send new ones. And yeah, that is it for me. If you're not already, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Follow me on Instagram at PlantMyHappySpace. But for now, I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace out. Definitely not cleaning this up until after I eat. That's for sure.